benefit with that. So there is no second PPP, Gregory. So I see your question there. There's only one. And for those of you that do not have the emergency disaster loan, we would really recommend that you get that. We're teaching that every Wednesday. And so if you have not received that loan, or you are having trouble getting the you've been declined and you want to try to reach out to the SBA to see if you can get some reconsideration, we are also helping to do that as well. Robin, I did have some other resources, but I did want to share a couple of grants that are upcoming. Not sure if you want me to do that now or after today's presentation.
Well, if you can put that in the chat box, is it something that's written, or
I can show them quicker on screen whenever you're ready. If you want to do that.
Why don't we just go ahead and get that done? We can wrap it up, and then we can roll right into our presenter today.
Okay, if you would let me share screen for one moment, and it'll take me just a moment.
Crystal, can you authorize share screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, let me get to it. Share screen, options, participants. Okay, she should be able to do it now.
All right, great. So there are three grants that I wanted to make people aware of. One is the LA Regional Fund that is closing on this Friday, the 30th. You guys have all known about this, but this is the last round. So if you have not applied, this is the last round of that grant, and they're going through the finalists. The last round, I think about 4,000 people were selected in that last round, the fifth round. This is the sixth and final round. The other thing I wanted to make people aware of is this is called the Amber Grant for Women. There is a cutoff here of October 31st. It's up to $10,000. They've been doing this monthly, and this is for women. It's the Amber Grant Foundation for Women in Business. So I can drop that link in. Then there's one more that is the Business for All. This is a combination of Hello Alice and Verizon. Sometimes you see it as a Hello Alice grant. This again is up to $50,000. That's the maximum. But if you get this grant, it will be a minimum of $10,000. The application is due for this November 10th. So I'll put that link in. And then finally, I did want to share that there is free PPE available. So for businesses in LA County, there's a free program. The SBDC is participating in this program as well so free PPE for your businesses, because we've heard that people have been short on PPE and it's costly. And so it's added to the cost of doing businesses for small businesses. And so we want to be able to assist business in getting that. You just sign up, and there are masks and I think hand sanitizer and shields and maybe some other items available for your business. So those are the three things that I wanted to share. Make sure that the community is aware of all of the options here and those grants with the deadlines fast approaching. So thank you.
It's perfect. Thank you again. Again, this is our community briefing, so we appreciate the fact that PCR continues to be a great partner in getting information out to our community. And I'm going to turn it over to, we want to have, she's not back. We want to have Stephen to go ahead and introduce our guest for today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Keith Herron. Keith is the Office of Chief Data Analysis and Supportive Service and Outreach of Caltrans. Keith is a Ohio State Buckeye. Yes. He's an experienced executive with a demonstrated history of working in the education and management field. He's skilled with nonprofits, youth development program. And with that, he's passionate about making sure that we, as people of color, get our fair share. But yet we have to measure what we're obtaining in our participation. Without further ado, Keith Herron.
Thank you. First of all, I got to ask, can you guys hear me? Making sure
yes.
I get. Okay, great. I had a PowerPoint to share. If you could let me.
You should be able to share.
Okay, great. So before I start, I just want to reintroduce myself. I am Keith Herron. I just started working with Caltrans in August. So I've been here in the Division of Civil Rights for all of 2 months now. I'm enjoying the experience. It's a tough job. but I'm very, very passionate about the mission. I'm also a licensed engineer, so I'm a graduate of Ohio State, where I majored in civil engineering, became a licensed engineer, and I originally worked for Caltrans for about 18 years before starting my own small business. We did about maybe an annual budget of about $2.5 million. I ran that business for about 20 years. And then upon retirement from there, I rejoined Caltrans in the Office of Civil Rights. You know, I really feel like this position is perfect for me because I know a lot about Caltrans and I know a lot about what it takes to run a small business. And also, you know, as a Black man, I'm very concerned about we all know about all the games that are played and all the things that happen. And so I'm very concerned and very passionate about doing what I can to help our businesses succeed. So let me share this PowerPoint with you very quickly. Let's see here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So once again, I'm from the Office of Civil Rights, Data Analysis, Support Services, and Outreach Branch. Our goals of our branch is number one, to monitor the discrimination in the awarding of contracts. We try to make sure that there is no discrimination in the awarding of contracts. We're also trying to increase the number of certified, we call disadvantaged business enterprises who are active in the construction industry, active in projects with Caltrans. And last but not least, with our existing businesses who are already certified, we're trying to strengthen their capacity, their growth and self-proficiency of the businesses who work with Caltrans. And it's a monumental task. Just so you know, Caltrans does about $5 billion annually in business with contractors. We have goals that are not mandated, but we have goals that we try to achieve with those dollars being awarded to small and minority contractors. One of our goals is 25% of our contracts, we want them to go to small businesses. 17%, approximately 18% of our contracts, we're trying to make sure that minority businesses get access to those funds. And so when you talk about 18% of about $4 billion, between $4 and $5 billion, you're talking about $800 million that we're trying to give out to local businesses. If you look at the past, when we do something every 3 or 4 years called a Disparity Study, which looks at how we're doing as far as contracting out. And you can see for the last Disparity Study, which was done in 2016, you can see that African Americans were only at 31%. Now you see that vertical dash line, which is at 80%. A disparity study less than 80% is considered significant. So
Keith, can you hit this slide screen so we can see?
Oh, you can't see the slide?
Yeah, you have to go up to your slideshow.
Up to the top of the slideshow and then start slideshow.
Okay, let me see here. That's the end slideshow. Start slideshow.
Or if you just want to click on there you go.
Well, in your screen share, you're selecting the screen itself. You have to select the PowerPoint.
So let me see. I'm working. I'm trying now. Let me see. Bear with me.
Just go up next to animation, say slideshow.
No, he's got to fix it in the bottom where it says share screen.
So should I stop and then reshare, or let me see. Let me stop.
Yeah, drop down to now in share screen, right? And you should see that twice in the box there. So you'll want to grab the one that says PowerPoint instead of just a static screenshot.
So it says PowerPoint. I see whiteboard, iPhone pad. I don't see a PowerPoint one, but I see the screen I want to share.
Yeah, you could also select like your desktop. It should allow you to share your entire desktop.
Exactly.
Right. So that's my desktop, right?
Perfect. Now we could see it. And then if you just click, you can either click on the actual slide along the left that you want to show us, because right now we just see slide 1, because that's what you're currently clicked on.
Okay, is that okay? Is that,
Yeah,
can
that'll be
everybody see
fine.
that?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
let's go with that for the
so
sake
go
of time.
to
Yeah.
where are
Okay.
you at? Slide 2 or 3?
I'm gonna redo slide 2 just so
Okay.
you know what
There
our
you go.
department's goals are. So number 1 is to monitor to make sure that there is non-discrimination in the awarding of contracts. Number 2 is to increase the number of businesses, particularly disadvantaged business enterprises, which are African Americans, Hispanics, women, Asians, who are active in the construction industry. We have a terminology that says ready, willing, and able. So you need to be ready, you need to be willing, and you need to be able. Then number 3, strengthen the capacity of the existing businesses that already do business with Caltrans. What can we do, to strengthen, your capacity? The next slide I want to show you was we do a disparity study, which we're actually doing right now. And I would love, love, love for you guys to participate in that. I'll give you the information on that coming up. But in our last disparity study, you can see how African Americans had the lowest disparity. And what I was showing to you is that dashed line at 80, anything less than 80 is considered a significant disparity.
Mm.
So African Americans are probably the lowest. We have some that are close. It generally, even if you look at the new data, which I'm going to share my next slide so you can see for the fiscal year 18-19, this is what fiscal year 18-19 looks like. And so you can see that African Americans and Hispanics, these are the funds that they're under our DBE goals. And you can see the blue is May, the green is June, and the gold is July. And so you can see how that number is increasing each month on that. The dollars that we would like for you guys we would like African Americans to have in our contracts. That's what the dollars that they're missing out, where you can see the other groups are above their threshold. So here's what's happening. So if you look at 18-19, our goal is 17.6. Right now, we're at actually 18.1. So the goal, when I say 17.6, our goal is to at least have 17.6% of our contract dollars going out to disadvantaged business enterprises. Right now, 18.1% of those dollars are going out to disadvantaged enterprises. But some groups are outliers. Some groups are carrying the rest of the group as a whole. And those groups include Asian Pacifics and non-minority women contractors. And so even though our numbers are 18.6, African Americans and Hispanics are still heavily underrepresented, and African Americans more than Hispanics.
And Keith, when you say disparity, can you explain what exactly disparity means in this context?
I have another slide, and so I will get to that.
Okay.
Unless you want me, I can skip to it if you'd like to see.
Oh no, that's okay.
Okay.
No, what we'd like to see is if you can hit your slide so it's bigger, because this is coming up on the screen and we're not really able to see the numbers.
When I did that last time and you lost it. So I'll try to again and let me know if let me see if I can do this. You lost it when I put it on the slide.
Well, actually go right there where it says slide show.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, click that. Now go from current slide.
From current.
Right there,
okay.
Right there. There we go.
Is that better?
That's excellent.
Okay. So now, and so can you see our $18-19? This is for fiscal year 2018-19. The total dollars for all contracts awarded were $2,672,864,171. And you can see of those contract dollars, African Americans were awarded about 24 million of those dollars.
Wow. That's sad.
Yeah. So they got 0.92%. where our average, for the average, because when we say ready, willing, and able, they should be at 1.7%, which means they were 0.78 less than where we were, which is the disparity index of 54%. So that means that, you know, the approximate dollars that we would like to give out, we only met about 46% of that benchmark. I'm sorry, 54% of that benchmark.
What's the negative percentage for African American and Hispanic? What does that represent?
That means you're underrepresented. So I put a dollar value to that. You know, it comes to about $20 million that we should have awarded if everything went as we would like it to. We would have awarded African Americans approximately $45 million. And instead we awarded actually $24 million. So that's why you see that negative 20 million. And that's why you have that negative 0.78%.
Got it.
And why do I know? Well, we'll hold this question while you are continuing on. Actually, if you hit display settings right at the top, and you're going to switch it right there
to
click it and swap the slideshow. There you go. And we should get the bigger one.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. I learned a lot. I'm learning a lot today. So anyhow, I just wanted to show you where we are. And we know there's multiple reasons, you know, some beyond, some that Caltrans does have control over and some that we do not. But at least I want to share the information with you. And I'm going to talk about some of the things we can do to help. So these are the programs that we have in place to improve the status of our disadvantaged business enterprises. One of the areas that we're trying to do is workforce development. In that program, we have a program called the National Summer Transportation Institute. That's a program for youth, middle school and high school youth, where we are trying to expose them to careers in engineering and transportation careers. We're planning on, we just got our statement of work approved. So we're planning on bidding out those contracts. We're trying to do 6 programs across the state, 2 middle schools and 4 high schools. So that bid will go out. Most of those contracts are for universities, so that, you know, they can bring students on the campus and they can learn about, you know, the careers in transportation. They'll probably be virtual this year, but we are planning on trying to get those going for the summer of 2021. Another program that we do is called the On-the-Job Training Program. And those are programs for the areas that are most needed in Caltrans, in the trades, like carpenters, electricians, those types of programs. The program that we're running with right now is with South Bay, but we're getting ready, like I said, to put out another bid. It's coming out probably in early 2021. And so we're trying to find programs, not only just in this, because the South Bay is in the South area, we're trying to find programs also in the North area and in the Central region as well. And here's where the big one is, and this is called the DBE Supportive Services contract. And so this is a contract that we put out that is coming up again in 2021. Typically, we award this program through the colleges again, but since I've come aboard, I'm trying to change that and have that program actually run through chambers or SBDCs. And so what that program does is there's 2 stages. We try to get people in the developmental stage, which is developing a business plan, you know, getting certified so you can get contracts with Caltrans. And then also then the next stage is the transitional stage, which we try to walk you through submitting bids. And then once you submit a bid, sometimes there's contract award bonuses that are available. So in the past, we've done that through colleges, but I'm in the process of trying to get it approved that we can do that through, you know, your local chambers, such as your Black chambers or your Hispanic chambers, and your SBDCs, because in my opinion, they could be more effective than the colleges and the universities. But this is a program that we really want everybody to take advantage of. Then we also have something called the SB 103 Outreach Plan. And that plan is designed to mandate that 25% of our contracts go to small businesses, 3% of our contracts go to disadvantaged business enterprise, disadvantaged veteran business enterprises, and then 17.6% of our contracts go to disadvantaged business enterprises. In our outreach branch, we have something called the district. I know that it's painful with all the acronyms that we use, but it's called the DSBL, which is the District Small Business Liaison. Each of our districts have a district small business liaison. If you are a business trying to get contracts with Caltrans, I recommend that you contact those DSBLs. What they do is they put out regular information, usually monthly, called look aheads. And look aheads let you know what contracts are coming up for bids, where the pre-bid meetings are. Also business supports. We have also something called the Cal Mentor program that tries to partner disadvantaged business enterprises or subprimes and primes. And then where I'm working on, or our department since I've come aboard, is working on a new method, actually a texting system where you'll get an opportunity to opt in. And if you opt in, you'll get this regular information coming to you. Because right now, to me, the way it's structured, you have to go in to the district to get these meetings, or you have to go in or contact this district small business liaison to find out this information, or you have to go to the website. I'm trying to get businesses to opt into this texting system. And once you opt in, that information be sent to your phone. Here's a look ahead report for District 10. Here's a video that we just did. We've been doing some trainings along with the Disparity Study on topics that are very, very, very useful for small businesses. And we really want our disadvantaged business enterprises and our African-American businesses to take advantage of that. One of the ones I did personally from a small business perspective that I felt was really useful was setting a yearly budget. Most businesses don't have yearly budgets. Most of us are one-man shows and mom and pops, and we're running, we're doing a million things. And a lot of times we forget about setting that yearly budget, but that yearly budget is so crucial to the effectiveness of your business. And so that's one of the videos that we just did. We also did one on how to get certified. We're doing one on how to do a constructive bid. Matter of fact, the person who's doing that one, I think her name is Andrea Nunn. She's from the LA area. So we're trying to put out information to help our businesses get contracts. And then last but not least.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before you leave, we got a bunch of questions in the chat box. Before you leave this page, I just wanted to make sure you don't move to the next slide. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't see the chat box, so I'll stop and try to answer the questions after I finish this slide. Sure. And then the last one is the Disparity Study, in which what that one is it examines the barriers in Caltrans contracting. It's virtual this year. All the Disparity Study meetings are virtual. I highly, 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 listen to me. I'm gonna say it again. This is how crucial it is. I highly, 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 highly recommend that all businesses participate in this study, because this study is only done once every 3 or 4 years, and based on their recommendations is how we conduct ourselves for the next 3 or 4 years. It shows where the gaps are, what are businesses struggling with, what do they need help on, what are some of the barriers that are stopping you from participating. This is the time where you need to be active in participation. It goes into a record, and their recommendations are how our department kind of sets up our goals. So it's really important for everybody to participate in that disparity study. And I will try to find the flyer so you can see where to register for that link. I did not have it attached to this, but I know I have it on my file that I can share with you also.
Okay, so this is Robin, and what I want to say is you've provided us with a lot of information. You're new to this process, and we appreciate the fact that you're bringing this information to the table. However, we will certainly need to have a follow-up email that we can send out to our constituents, because, you know, when you're talking about RFPs, when you're talking about on-the-job training programs and these things like that, folks need to be able to know who to contact, what the window of opportunity looks like. Folks are asking questions related to some of the stuff that you have in here. So let me go back up here and look at the questions. One of the questions was, why do you think that African Americans are still underrepresented in your procurement process? Have you had an opportunity to take a look at that yet?
I don't have all the details, but I have some ideas. One of the reasons I think they're underrepresented is because, you know, even though these are big contracts, a lot of the federal contracts limit the overhead. A lot of times it's as small as 10%. So that's a big issue compared to regular contracts. Another big issue that I've seen so far is insurance and bonding, getting insured and getting bonded. That's, you know, there's an expense for that. And a lot of times startups don't have the extra money, you know, for all those things, where other contracts are easier to manage. Another thing that I would say is, with these federal contracts, they're very, very, very detailed. And a lot of times they'll have contract codes. And when you submit your bid, you have to submit those contract codes. And what I would tell most businesses, if you don't submit that in the contract code, if it's not in that code, you can't bill for it. Or if you only put a certain amount in your budget for that code, you go over that amount, you can't bill for that. So
let me ask you a question as you're saying this. What the first thing that's popping up in my mind is, and I've said this to my clients, some of this stuff was written in the 60s and the 70s and the 50s and the 40s. Mm-hmm. When is Caltrans, and, you know, again, I'm excited that you're there because you worked there before, you own your own business, and now you're back again. And I'm thinking that the reason why they brought you on board is to try to fill in some of these gaps. So when are they going to make some adjustments? You know, if you have a goal that has to be met, and there's a gap between, yes, there are folks who are available to help fill the gap, but there are going to be some hindrances and some barriers that are there that continue to be the same barriers since the 70s. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm looking for that right mix where, you know, the supplier can come to the table, the big company who has access, you have PCR, we have folks who are available to help do the training. How can we create a coalition so that folks can actually advance? You know, one of the questions is, when is the RFP coming out? We're hearing about this stuff, but if the stuff comes out and they're not prepared, it's kind of like, I call it a check the box move. And I'm not putting you up for charges. I'm just saying that historically, we keep hearing the same thing. There's a gap in the disparity on how folks can access business. And then there's this criteria that's been there since the 70s, and nobody's amended the criteria, but everybody keeps telling these small businesses what they need to do. So how do we match those two up?
And so I want to talk about that. And it's also similar to the same problems that we hear about how slow it is to process payment. That's another thing we hear a lot.
Certainly.
And so what I want most people to realize, and I didn't realize it until I came back to Caltrans, is that, you know, our hands are basically tied. We get, most of our money comes from the feds. And so the federals, which I say feds, I mean the Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transportation Association, FTA, FHWA, they're the ones who set the rules for how we govern ourselves. And so it may seem like Caltrans has a lot of power and a lot of say-so, but we have to follow the federal guidelines in order to get our funds reimbursed, if that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. However, and I hear you. Let
me just finish, and then
I'm sorry. I'm getting excited.
I know. And every time I have these meetings, it's so passionate, and everybody gets really, really excited.
No, I'm passionate because I'm a Black female. I'm compassionate about business.
I am too.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about both of them. I love being Black, and I love doing business. Okay. And I would love to make it easier. And so, for instance, just to process an invoice with the feds, it's about 5 or 6 stages that you have to go through. Just to put out a bid, there's about 10 stages So when's the RFP coming out? Just to put out the RFP, there's about 10 stages, and I don't know them all off the top of my head, that we have to go through. And it goes to the feds, they got to do obligate, we got to award. I mean, it's a long, tedious process. I never realized how tedious it was. It's almost the opposite of small business. Because small business, you can make a decision and you can make it go. Where on the Caltrans end and on the feds end, it's just the opposite of that. There's tons of layers that we have to go through. So just even me trying to start off with this texting system that I'm talking about, it's tons of layers that I'm finding out that I have to go through, which is sometimes frustrating for me because it's not how I did business as a small business. But at the same time, I've got to follow the process that they have to follow in order to justify the funds being spent.
So to your point, then I think let's spend our time talking about how we as the community can help get some of those changes done. And in the interim, as opportunity becomes available, how do we prepare for those opportunities? And then finally, there's a great question here. Who's preparing this disparity study? Is it a minority-owned business? How are they segmenting the market? Can you give us any insight there?
Yes, I would love to get insight because the organization that's doing disparity study, their name is BBC. They're the ones who did the last disparity study as well. There are a lot of people who are not happy with the way the disparity study has been done in the past, but I'm going to say this clearly, I haven't had any issues with them. And when we put out the RFP to work with them, when we put the RFP to solicit someone to do the disparity study, we had no applicants. Then we put it out again and BBC applied again and they got the contract. Then, we always hear this after fact, why are they doing? It's a matter of who bids, So the first thing I would say is please participate in the disparity study. This is where you can get your feet on the ground. This is the time to talk. This is the time to show that passion that you have. And because this is where we do our planning and where we get the recommendations.
And Keith, how do we do that? Where do we get the information to participate? I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. Of Recycling Black Dollars, and as well as I have a relationship with the Urban League. So we have huge databases of businesses, and there are other, obviously PCR, all the other, and I'm sure PCR has probably more information than we do. How do we go about getting that information and being able to get it out to our communities?
We have a flyer, and I will send you the link to both of those flyers. One of them is a training and outreach, and like I said, the other one is the disparity study. And the next meeting, I can tell you, there's 12 meetings. We've already done 3 of them, so there's 9 more to go. But the next one is November 12th. Put that. And
how do we get on the mailing list for that outreach?
There's a link, and you click on the link, and all you have to do is register. And once you register, they'll send you the information, and they'll probably send you follow-up. Once you register once, you'll probably get follow-up information as well for the other meetings. But we desperately, desperately need your participation in those disparity study meetings. That's number 1. Number 2, regarding on how to get these contracts for workforce development or supportive services, you can look up the old contracts just to see what the statement of work looks like. And I may be able to send those to you too. But you can look up the old one, so that way when the new one comes up, you can start preparing your bid now if you'd like to be some of those supportive services contractors. That's my advice on that. And then
Colette from PCR has a question. Are the administrative requirements as difficult for subs, or is it, or as it is for the primes? Is it better to prep Black companies as subs versus primes?
I say initially it's better to start out as a sub because there's a lot less paperwork and there's a lot less certifications that you have to have. I would start off as a sub, and then I've also heard, because at our last disparity study training, we had the subs and the primes, and we talked about what are the issues, how can we work together, and the biggest thing is having a trusting relationship. The subs want to work for a prime that's going to pay them on time. So when they get their money, they want their money on time. The primes want to work with subs who they know that can do the work, who can do the work, is going to do it effectively, and you're not going to come to them with problems. I don't have money for this. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you help me with this? No, they're expecting you to come in on the ground running, doing exactly what you're supposed to do with no problems and no issues. And so everybody wants to do a good project. But you have to understand from the prime's perspective, they've got a lot of issues going on too, just like you got a lot of issues going on too. And it's just like, if it came time for the primes to pay a sub, and the prime said, I can't pay you right now because I got this problem going on, I got this problem going on, I got this problem going on. A sub would be like, I don't want to hear that. I just want my money, right?
So in a scenario like that, would Caltrans step in? How does that get resolved?
Caltrans does have a prompt payment program where once the sub gets paid, you're supposed to be paid within a certain amount of time. Yes, they do have a program for that. But the point I was trying to make is no one wants to hear about the other people's problems. We all have problems. We all have issues. We all have barriers, some more than others now. And I'm not saying we have the same barriers, but when it comes time to do that work, they both want, primes and subs both want people who are just going to come in and do the work and not talk about the issues that they have, if that makes sense.
I have another question.
Sure.
I'm sorry. How does the SBA and the Minority Business Development Agency procurement and technical assistance, do they collaborate with Caltrans?
I am not sure. I don't have an exact answer to that. I'm pretty sure there is some level of collaboration, but like I said, I'm new, and so I don't know all the information as of yet. But I'm pretty sure there is some form of collaboration. I can also say for the people that are just breaking in, I've heard that the easier contracts are the minor B contracts, which are less than $300,000, or emergency contracts. Caltrans also hires for services. Sometimes, they're looking for notepads and pens and pencils and, things of that nature. Those are probably easier contracts to take advantage of. But if you do one of those minor Bs, you get your foot in the door. It's a small contract, and then you've got that experience, and then you can come to a prime and say, hey, look, I've done this before, and this is what my experience is. And that makes a prime contractor more comfortable with working with a subprime, if that makes sense.
Keith, in regards to the bonding and insurance, which again is always one of those barriers, Meriwether and Williams is one of the organizations that has been very, very instrumental in trying to bridge that gap. Does Caltrans have any plan for capacity building opportunities as a part of these programs that they're implementing in order to increase, to mitigate the disparity gap?
We're aware of it. One of the things I would like to do, but like I said, the federal and the state process is very bureaucratic and tenuous. But one thing I would love to do is to have a partnership with a financial institution to help provide bonding and insurance for DBEs that have contracts with Caltrans. Because if you have a contract with Caltrans, the money is there. The money is set aside. There is money that's going to be paid out. And I feel like it would be great if we could have, as a group, as a cohort, somebody insuring the cohort that has those contracts with Caltrans. I don't know a lot about that process. I'm sure it's going to be even more tedious than the processes that we already have. But I think that would be an outstanding idea to develop that cohort. And that's the whole reason, once again, like that I'm mentioning this texting system. If we get this texting system going, that will be a way for us to have a cohort. And it will be a way for us to communicate. It will be a two-way communication system where not only am I giving you information, but you can give me information as well.
So will you guys be hosting some kind of meet the primes, meet the subs kind of event?
Yes, they do that all the time. And the people who do those are your district small business liaisons. So they do them by district. And that way you can find out what projects are going on in your vicinity where you live.
There's a question, does Caltran accept individual sureties?
I'm not sure what that question means. So I can't answer that question. I'm not sure what
Okay. Homer, if you can elaborate on that. Also, there was a question, and I believe Colette asked it, is there a sub feeder or development program?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where those DSBLs come into play. They have lots of partnering events and mentorship programs and certification programs. I didn't list everything that they do, but they have a lot of programs. You need to connect with your district small business liaison. Even if you're not working on a contract with Caltrans currently, connect with those district small business liaisons.
And how do we know who those are?
I have a list of those, and I would try to send you that list on who's in which district, but there is a list out.
Thank you. And I have a question on the national program you have for youth and college students. So I run a educational program, entrepreneurial educational program for young people, ages 14 to 18, and then we're working on the college area. How do I get information on that, and what are you looking for? Is there criteria for these young people?
No, there's no criteria, there's no grade level criteria or anything like that. I've actually run one of the National Summer Transportation Institute programs before. It's a great opportunity just to expose youth to, all the opportunities there are in transportation careers. And I applaud you for working with youth. I think that's the most rewarding group that you can work with as far as determining our future and providing opportunities, because particularly our youth of color, it's just like our businesses go through, our youth go through just as much as our businesses go through. So it starts at an early age, and we have to do all we can to encourage them and to make them resilient for the obstacles that we know that they're going to face. So I salute you for that.
Thank you. So, and you can send that information over. I do a year-long program with kids, so we're actually meeting up with them starting in November. And if we need to prepare them for anything, this would be a prime time to do that. We reach out. We have an outreach to over 50 kids every summer.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I used to do a lot of summer programs. I used to do a program called Get Your Hustle On that, 90% of our African-American youth start their senior year without having completed a college profile plan. So we used to work with the kids in the summer to, number one, have them fill out a college application, registering on FastWeb, doing personality assessments to see what careers they're passionate about and not just looking for a job. Most of them do not have college portfolios, and you should really have that in your junior year, because a lot of times to get in certain colleges, you have to have a certain GPA, you have to take certain classes. There's a lot of requirements that you have to really start in your sophomore or your junior year. So it was very important that we start working with our kids as early as possible. So I salute you for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to, as our time is running out, I really would like to continue to talk about how we can help their parents attain some revenue in order to be able to send them to college.
Right.
So, you've given us the idea that we need to be prepared for this November 12th meeting. We need to sign up so that we can get on the mailing list. Talk about some next steps. Besides some of the things that you've talked about, which are pretty global, give us some specific next steps that can take place right now.
Okay, here's something that can take place right now. I'm telling you now that this texting system is going to come out. When the texting system comes out, I would love to have a database of as many people as possible with their cell phone number so that I can have them opt in. And once they opt in, they'll be able to get this regular information about look-aheads, about meeting the primes, about how to set up a yearly budget. I'm trying to get the information that needs to get out, and I would like it to be accessible to everyone. I don't want you to have to drive to a meeting to get that information. I don't want you to have to know somebody who knows somebody who's going to tell you about because that's one of the barriers. And so
So until that's done, Keith, what can we, see, I don't like to do business on text. I swear to God, I don't. And I've said that 12 million times because I'm a banker. I need a paper trail. So what can we do right now electronically on email? What should we do? Should we look you up and maybe, give us a link where we can actually, get on the mailing list? Because if we get on that mailing list, then won't that provide us with these look aheads and the business support information and what have you? No,
not necessarily. And that's why I'm trying to use this other avenue, because I just feel like it's more automated, it's more innovative, and it's really the way society is going. I really feel like, this pandemic that we're going through is really a portal where things are not going to be the same. We're actually moving from one place to another. And so, it's time to pack light, because the way we conduct business, not saying Caltrans, but I'm just saying in general, the way business is being conducted is definitely going to change somewhat. And the problem with the email system, like we're trying to send out video links and things like that through the texting system. And then once you have questions, you can follow up with the district small business liaisons, which we're working on a statewide outreach plan. So email may work. I'm not saying it can't work, but I'm telling you the most efficient way is for the stuff that I'm trying to do is going to be via that texting system. And the texting system is just like an email. You'll click on a link and it'll communicate to you, and it could be.
I get texting all day long, but from a documentation standpoint, this is Robin on her soapbox about doing business on text. That sounds good. It sounds innovative and all of that, but the follow-up and the follow-through has to be on paper somewhere, right? So we will operate in the cloud. That's innovative. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your business. I'm just saying what I like. And I think that from a training standpoint, for folks to be getting information on their text, you're not really, there's a lot of information coming out. I'll leave that alone for right now.
Okay. So when I say that, I want you to know, I'm not saying we're not using email at all. I'm sure there's a lot of them that are using email. I'm just saying this is going to be another venue that's going to probably be more just in time and more up to date. So the email systems that we have currently, we're still going to continue to use. But like I said, the other systems will be more, quicker notice, and a lot of times, people don't even open their emails. So and you have that look, but a lot of people do not open their emails.
Okay, let me ask you another question then. Give me the title of the people that we should be looking for who are the so-called local folks. What's that title again?
That's called the District Small Business Liaison, DSBL.
And they should be listed on the Caltrans website?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what they do is the big thing that they do that's more to the most advantages for people who are already certified is they'll tell you the look aheads. They'll tell you what contracts are upcoming. They're going to tell you about, they're going to have Cal Mentor programs where you can meet the primes. They're going to have events about how to get certified. When you get certified, sometimes you have to certify under different codes, NAICS, what they call NAICS codes. And sometimes primes look for specific people under some of those codes. That's another thing that the DSBLs will help you with. It's very important to get connected with them.
I have a clarifying question.
I'm sorry, Martha, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I was going to ask Keith, with regards to your program slide that you currently have up, I know you mentioned, like, for example, with the workforce development and the DBE supportive services, that those are some bids that you see potentially coming out in early 2021.
Yes.
This is different, correct, from the DSBL at a regional and district level, right? This is something that Caltrans will be putting out in early 2021 for supportive services support at Caltrans, right?
Yes.
Did I understand that correctly? Okay.
Yes. So
do you guys currently have a firm already in place for some of those, or is this going out for the first time?
No, we currently have some in place. Those contracts have ended. And so now we're getting ready to, well, they're nearing their end. And so I know, for instance, for the DBE supportive services contracts, that was with Humboldt, Miracosta, and Fresno State. I am trying, like I said, to try to get those instead of with you, not only just letting universities apply, but also SBDCs and chambers apply for those. And it's about $1 million contract, about $300,000 in each region. And their goal is to walk them through those development stages that I talked about, and then also the transitional stages that we talked about. The on-the-job training programs, that right now that's going through South Bay. We only have one, but we're trying to get 3. And because the South Bay is, of course, in the South region, I'm trying to get 3. So I'm trying to get 1 in the South, 1 in the North, and 1 in the Central region. That's my goal for that. When the bids come out, we're trying to select 3, not just 1. And then with the National Summer Transportation Institute right now, that's going on in the South area as well. Once again, I'm trying to get 1 going on in Sacramento and 1 going on Northern region and Central region.
Awesome.
And so those are contracts to do services. Those are contracts that we give out to do services to help us meet those goals of workforce development and to support disadvantaged business enterprises.
And the firms that you mentioned that currently have or are ending, are those minority or Black-owned firms by chance?
No, the majority of them have been universities. The majority of these contracts have been with universities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at the FHWA specs on supplemental services implementation, you know, they suggest that we use businesses of color to distribute those services. And I'm trying to do that as much as we possibly can.
So as Robin said, our next steps is how do we help you get what you want, and how at the same time do we help our people, our business owners, get into the fold of this? And I understand the lookout. So all of the, evidently from all of the questions that we're seeing in the chat, this seems to be the best kept secret. So how do we get caught up and get entrenched? And I understand getting on mailing lists, but is PCR a DSBL so that they can make sure that we know what the look aheads are? Someone in our community that we have direct access to, that we can help change this disparity report, because that's pretty sad that there's only $41 million that's been dispersed out to Black business owners, when there are quite a few business owners that we, if nothing else, we could prepare to get ready. But if we don't know they're out there, we don't know what we're preparing for.
Yes. So like I said, what I would love is if you, for you to create some, and now that I have, Stephen, I know you have my email, you know, please follow up with me. And then what I can do is I'm going to try to send you the information on who the DSBLs are. You know, I can send you information once the texting system gets on, that if you had a database of numbers you'd like to put in that database, and that database, you have the option to opt in or not opt in, or you can opt out whenever you want. So if you don't want to receive the information, you can say I opt out, or you can opt in to receive the regular information. But the DSBLs and the texting system is probably the easiest way to stay current with the business opportunities to get contracts with Caltrans.
Keith, hi, it's Theodora.
Okay, for example,
Theodora, I was going to ask you if you could add, you know, you've had some wonderful comments here in the chat box. So if you don't mind sharing your experience, we'd appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Keith, good morning, and thank you for making the time to talk to our group. And one of the, I know you keep mentioning these liaisons, the business liaison. Unfortunately, my experience and a lot of the experiences of minority-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses, particularly in the LA area, is that the LA office is not as resourceful as you were saying, as it should be. So that 0.31% percentage, when I saw that, I froze. I nearly cried. Actually, I was in tears afterwards, because I couldn't believe that billions and billions of dollars are going out and our Black businesses are literally shut out. We don't even know what's going on. So is there any way we can get you? I know you're saying, you know, you're directing us to connect with these business liaisons. Is there any way we can get you to speak with us regularly, like maybe once a quarter, or, you know, or something along those lines? That way we as a group stay tapped in, instead of keep trying to search and find these folks who hide behind their emails, hide behind the, wherever they hide. You know what I mean? Because we need the information. We need to know the GCs that are doing Caltrans work, because that's exclusive.
Right.
That is,
And you know,
that we need to, we want to do the work. We can do the work. Help us do the work, period.
exactly. Now here's my proposal. You know, there's thousands of businesses across the state that are DBEs, literally probably 5,000 or 10,000 businesses. And suppose I had to call everyone. Would you want to be the first person I call, or would you want to be the last person I call? Most people want to be the first person I would call, right? By opting into that texting system, once it comes in, you will be the first person I call. That's my goal of the texting system, is to be able to share information regularly. It would be impossible for me to contact everybody. You know, that's why I'm trying to find a way to contact everybody, to give out the pertinent information. And so what I'm planning to do once we get the texting system rolling is to have regular reports on the look aheads by districts, so you know what contracts are coming out. I'm also trying to send out training and tutoring tutorials on how to get certified, how to do a bid, just the basics, so that way you can follow up with the DSBOs, but everybody can get the same level of quality of
So let me ask you a question. How long do you think it's going to be before the texting? Because you say you got to get approval for that, and we're talking about bureaucracy. So what's the timing on that?
I started the ball rolling. My goal is December 1st, at the latest January 1st.
Okay, but you also said that there's about 8 more meetings to go.
That's for the disparity study. That's a different topic.
Okay, but it's all related to fixing the disparity, correct? So what I put in it, I went on Google and I put in the chat box a whole bunch of links directly to your website where there's certification to process the, and all of that stuff. And then Steven just provided us with your email address. And please understand, we're having a dialogue. 2, we don't expect you to be calling individual people, but we also want to make sure that we have the correct link, so that when we're communicating with somebody like yourself who is committed to making a difference, that you can make a global response. It doesn't have to be that you're going to respond to an individual email. My preference would be that you make a global response, and maybe it's through the organization, through Crystal and in this platform that she's created, because we have a standing audience here, and these guys depend on us we can get information out, but we also I'll continue to do follow-up with you, as someone just suggested, so that we can, help get this done.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Even if you just sent me an email that CC'd everybody you would like to get the information out to at the same time, that could be a start as well. But definitely the texting system is what I'm really trying to use as a strong cohort, to make sure everybody gets the same information at the same time and the same level of information. So when I say that, I'm not just talking about Black contractors, I'm talking about all contractors get the same information. Because right now, one group gets some information, another group gets some information, you know what I mean? And that's not fair. Everybody needs to get the same information. And there's also a list of the, just so you know, there's also a list of the contract codes or the NAICS codes that we utilize the most as subprimes. So I'll make sure I send that list out as well.
That's good information. That would be great information.
Thank you, Keith. And we have several, we have Vermont Slauson that's represented, and this is a community-based briefing. And so we have a lot of partners here. And PCR, they're here every week. So if we're looking for that global base that is in communication with our businesses, I think we have quite a few people represented here. And then the ones that are not, we can make sure that. So if you want to, I get the texting system, but I think also coming from one of our representatives or our organizations, community-based organizations, we might get a better response. And I think we have to be much more strategic and directed, and not just out to, because here's what happens with our small Black businesses, because they run up against so many barriers on a regular basis, they'll get it and make an assumption that it does not fit them, because of whatever their past experience or someone else's experiences have been. So I think if it's more directed to to some of our CBOs that can then encourage and make sure that their workshops and classes and things like that, so that they'll understand that they have an opportunity to participate in this, and this is what you need to do, and here's how we can help shore up your weaknesses. I think if we want to close, if we seriously want to close in those numbers and bring in more Black businesses, we have to be very strategic and very direct at what we're doing.
Yes, I agree. And I would love to come back and show, especially to me, for as a small business person, I keep saying this over and over again, the number one thing you can do is have a yearly budget projections. That's your living document. And it tells you how long your bank balance is going to last. It'll tell you, you know, I would love to come back and share at least that piece alone with you, because I think that's every company goes out of business for the same reason, and that's because they run out of money.
Yes.
And so cash flow is king. You know, once we get that cash flow, it makes all those other processes so much easier. Because like you said, if you don't get that payment on time, which happens, we've all had that happen, you know, you have to be able to adjust accordingly, and you have to know where your money is at all times as a small business. And I think that's one of the crucial things that needs to be done. And then, like I said, the second thing is having expertise, having experience on a contract, and having that relationship with the prime, so that when they're looking for a subprime, you know, they'll contact you because they know you and they know the work that you do.
Excellent. We're at 12:05. I think there was one other. Any other questions anyone has? Keith, thank you so much. Go ahead, Robin.
I had one more comment. Keith, again, thank you for us allowing us to have this conversation, and understand that some of our community partners that are on this call, they're doing those kinds of workshops. They're working with businesses. And so there may be some businesses in some of the cohorts that they're already running who need the extra that you can bring from the Caltrans perspective. So I think that, you know, Vermont Slauson, Pacific Coast Regional, and some of our other community-based organizations, it would behoove you to kind of develop a relationship with them as well. They're here weekly. They're hosting workshops regularly. PCR has been around over 40 years, and they've done this well. Vermont Slauson has been around for a very, very long time. And I just want to thank Crystal for the platform that she's created. And Karen Blackwell wants to remind us to vote for Proposition 16, which will allow and you know, again, she's taken her own personal finances with two other ladies, and in order to get the information out about supporting Proposition 16, voting for Proposition 16. The BBA is here. So again, thank you. It may not come off as very formal, and that's not what we're looking for. We're just looking for good, solid information and good folks that we can partner with. So thank you again for your time and your expertise. And I'm so excited the fact that you owned your own business, so you kind of know what these barriers are, and how, and because you're internal, how you be, like I always say, you've been behind the curtain, and because you've been behind the curtain, there are some things that you will continue to share.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to share. I would love to strengthen the cohort. I would love to strengthen, you know, that's what I'm in business. That's what we're here for, is to strengthen our disadvantaged business enterprises. And that's you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can do is I'm going to try to do as much as I can to support you. Like I said, I love to come back and talk about different topics and share those with you in the future. And I'll definitely send the information to Stephen about the Disparity Study, because I would love to have you participate. That's one of the things that goes on record. So like this meeting we have here, I mean, I might talk to somebody about it, but this goes on a record. Would you say
it's the Caltrans census?
I would say it's the FHWA census, but that because it lasts for 3 years.
Yeah.
So this is the time now to get, you know, to hear your comments. Because and I can just say something from my perspective. Whenever I go to these meetings, you know, there's a lot of complaints. There's a lot of people who are mad. There's a lot of people who want to call us out. I'm not part of that. And you know, all I can say is I'm not part of that's happened in the past. There's nothing I can change about the past. But what I can do is where I am now. You know, I can help us take small steps to alleviate the process and to alleviate the barriers that we have. So I can't apologize. All I can do is what I can in this present moment. I cannot, you know, fix the past or anything
We don't.
like that. And I'm trying
We're not rear view mirror folks. I'm not a rear view mirror person either. However, we're here to help. You know, Bianca has something that she'd like to share.
Sure.
The business owner.
Hi.
Sure.
Thank you again. This is great information, Keith. I'm seeing from my research that there's a lot of laws that are being, being put back. A lot of the laws that were put in place for the African Americans are being pulled back. Not Caltrans' fault, is because of the lobbyists' fault. So is there a way that maybe we can have a group together and start the conversation about how to get those laws back so we can get work? So if the laws are, for instance, like commercial useful function, that came in and that kind of blocked almost a lot of Black and brown contractors from participating in Caltrans jobs. That's really why we're not getting work. We used to get more work at Caltrans. If you look back at the history,
Yes,
and back on the studies, they laws that help Black and brown contractors. Now these laws, lobbyists, big money lobbyists are coming in and blocking it. And so now it's keeping us from reaching those opportunities. So it would be great if somehow we could get together and talk about maybe something positive that we can do as Black and brown business owners community, and how we can help Caltrans, alleviate those laws and those lobbyists that you guys really can't, it's not your fault. Your arms are being closed, but maybe together we can come up with a solution.
Definitely. And once again, I keep bringing these same things back. Disparity study, there's public comment where you can comment privately, even one-on-one. You can do conversations with them, with the vendor that's doing the disparity study. That's the best time to do that, is now, so that we can get that in formal records, because we have to respond to the recommendations that they provide. So this is the time to voice those issues and be constructive. Say, be specific about which law, be specific about how it's hurting Black businesses, be specific. And that way we can try to, I'm sure they will include that I'm sure will be included in the comments and the recommendations that we have moving forward. So if you have a recommendation, put that in there too, so that they can add that to their files. But we need as much information as possible. Because like I said earlier, our money comes from FHWA. Our hands are tied with a lot of things. There's certain rules that we have to follow. The disparity study is our opportunity to see what rules we can tweak or what we can change through FHWA, who mandates the whole process.
Okay, I just went online and picked up the Department of California programs, the Civil Rights Disparity Study, and I put a link in our chat box. And I think that Crystal is going to have to close us out because we kind of run it over.
Right, and I'm going to send everyone.
But
I'm sorry, Robin. Go ahead.
That's okay. No, go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah, I will send out everyone the chat because there's a lot of information in the chat. So I'll send that out to you when I send out the copy of the recording to you. And I suggest everyone use our voices and use other business owners that their voices, even if they're not certified. Then we need everybody's voices at this point, because we do have, those numbers are pretty devastating, if you ask me, and Bianca's correct, and so is Dedora. So we want to make sure we make that change. And Keith, we're so thankful and appreciative that you did that. So Karen did have a question. In your opinion, if and when, and we're going to say when, a Prop 16 passes, will that make some impact with Caltran?
I can't say formally what impact it will have, but I know it will have impact. We're already talking about it. That because right now with our state contracts, demographic information is voluntary. With federal contracts, it's mandatory, but with the state contracts, it's voluntary. So I know that will definitely change if Prop 16 passes, and we're looking at what the changes will be. But even if it does not pass, our director is committed to equity. His name is Mr. Tokes. But he is very committed to equity in the department. He's been putting, if you look him up on YouTube, he's been putting out a lot of information recently called Divided Highways. That talks about how highways have hurt our neighborhoods, some of our transportation projects have hurt communities of color. So he is on board. And so he is definitely committed to strengthening all of our communities. And I applaud him for that. And my boss as well, which is Mr. David Deleuze. I applaud him for that. So you can YouTube him. It's called Tokes, T-O-K-S, that's his last name. But he has been putting out regular YouTube videos on equity and how do we alleviate these disparities. He actually just started a whole department called CORE, which is about equity as well in our department. It just started probably about a month ago. And so he is really trying to make sure that we have more equity in our contracting and also in our transportation process. And once again, I appreciate being here. I'm willing to help. I would love to help develop the cohort with you. And so once we get the connection information, I want to make sure that we tie you into the information that comes out. If I could just send it to one person, you could distribute it, that would be easy for me. And I would love to do that. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I'll share future opportunities as well.
Thank you so much, Keith. We're at 12:15. We want to thank you so much and appreciate everyone being patient with us and the time. But we just felt that it was such great information. We'll be back next week with some other amazing information for our community. But it's all about us taking this information and creating an action so we can change what we're doing. Thank you all our community-based organizations that are online and continue to support us, and everyone, all our audience here. Thank you for coming again once a week. Please share this video. Once I send it to you, get the information out so we can build the network. Because again, just as Keith said, the more of us that have an active voice in what goes on in our community, the better it is for our community. And so we have to not just wait for other people to do it for us. We have to take care of this ourselves. So thank you guys, all of you. And thank you, Robin. And thank you, Theodora, for referring us to Keith. And thank you, Stephen, for representing the BBA. Bianca, we're going to have you come talk about all your great stuff. And Thora, we're going to have you as well, because making sure that we get the information. Thank you, Karen, for your questions. And we will see everyone next week. Have a great weekend. Go vote. Tell everybody go vote. Go vote early so that you're not out there on November 3rd, because I think it's going to be some interesting stuff happening. So be safe. Mask up. We want to come out of this pandemic. We're going into some very treacherous times right now, and we don't want to have to shut all the way down and come all the way back again. So tell everyone, put a mask on. It's simple. So bye-bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Here, guys.
And we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.